Torbran, Thane of Redfell versus Temmet Vizier of Naktamun. One land, not good. Let's get rid of that and try again. Yeah, that's not great. There's no ramp, but we'll keep there. Get rid of the earthquake and say done. Then we'll get on with our dropping of the land and pass over to our opponent. Alright, a colourless tap land for our opponent, and that is exalted, so that tells us that this is going to be a Voltron deck. Alright, when we get into another land, that's exactly what we needed, so we're online for a turn 4 Torbran. Just have to hope our opponent doesn't have counters or removal in hand, which is a big ask. Then dropping an island and going in for an Eternalize 1-1. Maybe it's an Embalm Eternalize deck. That's a 4/4 zombie token. Oh, zombie human warrior. And this is Embalm zombie human cleric. Oh, right, I see. So that will be a 2/2 zombie. And that will be a 4/4 zombie. That's the difference between Embalm and Eternalize. We get into some of that ramp finally, which is a turn too late. A couple of turns too late. Let's just go for Sulfuric Vortex here. We're not going to make use of that Sol Ring mana just yet. Then that is 2 damage to our opponent. That will become 4 damage once our commander is in play. And they are in their Azorius colours now. But not going for their commander by the looks of it. What is that? That is Callous Dismissal. And they get an army token with that. So, yeah, definitely some kind of fun Embalm deck. Alright, so in that case, I wonder if it's worth... We could go for Urabrask here. I think we're best just getting down our commander. We'll drop the Sol Ring. Might as well get that into play. Had a few options there. We can either go for our commander, Urabrask, or we could go... Yeah, we can go Sulfuric Vortex and then wipe our opponent's creatures. But I just like getting down Torbran here. And down comes our opponent's commander. See if they've got anything else for us. Alright, deciding to give the zombie army +1/+1 and can't be blocked. They will be able to start embalming and eternalizing things next turn. Yeah, that's embalmed, so that would just come down as a 1/1 token copy of itself. And then the exalted triggers as well, so that becomes a 3/3 that can't be blocked. And then another creature for us to destroy next turn with Rain of Embers. That is create a they've just made some kind of weenie deck by the looks of it. Let's go for Sulfuric Vortex first. Oh, actually, we could go for Urabrask, couldn't we? I think I like that more. So we'll go Urabrask. We can cause a lot of damage to our opponent here. And if our opponent does something in response, we can go Electrickery, but they only have a colourless mana held up, so let's go Rain of Embers. 1 damage to each creature and player, except it's 3 damage to each of our opponent's creatures, and 3 damage to them. You can see we've got the 1 damage markers on our creatures there. But we don't mind dealing damage to ourselves, as long as we're still dealing more damage to our opponents. So that was a 2 mana, one-sided board wipe there. And they've only got 4 cards in hand here, so they need to do something quickly. Temple of the False God gets them into a lot more mana. And they make 2 blue from the Mystic Gate. And going for a Supplant Form, bouncing our Urabrask and making one of their own, and then swinging in at us. And that's exalted, so that's a 5/5 now. And that is a token that can be made unblockable by their commander, so we can see the type of stuff they're going for here. Getting tokens into play, similar to a Broodclad type strategy, being able to copy tokens and duplicate tokens, things like that. Pyrohemia is... yeah, we just put a couple of mana into that and we can get rid of our opponent's creature, can't we? So let's go there. This will be 3 damage to our opponent per mana that we put into this, and I haven't had the chance to use Pyrohemia yet. So we'll go like that, like that. We can use it 3 times with Torbran in play, and we've just dealt 6 damage to our opponent's creature and to our opponent's face. We might as well do it again. And yeah, we were just going to deal 3 damage to our opponent, knock them down to 6, and then swing in and knock them down to, that would have been 2. And then all we have to do is activate Pyrohemia once more next turn. Even if they get rid of Torbran, we can activate it twice. And yeah, just showing the power of Pyrohemia there. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to use it in this deck yet, but it is a really, really powerful effect. So, in my opinion, an auto-include in Torbran, especially in multiplayer. That was a pretty fast one, as Torbran games tend to be. So let's try and play another one. Torbran, Thane of Redfell, up against the much more powerful Elsha of the Infinite. And again, only very little mana in hand. Let's get rid of that. And again, this has been happening a lot on Magic Online recently. The past few days I've been trying recording sessions and have not been getting into lands. And it's lands specifically that I'm not getting into for some reason. I don't know if they've done something in the background. Try again. Alright, that is 3 lands in total. Let's keep there. Ditch. We might be able to rely on Wheel of Fate. Let's get rid of Smash to Smithereens and Combustible Gear Hulk. We can go for a turn 2 Wheel of Fate. And we might be glad that we kept that in the deck. It is a very slow Wheel of Fortune, but it can come in handy. And a Mana Vault from our opponent. We could do with one of those ourselves with a Gilded Lotus in hand. Let's just go Wheel of Fate. And then a Sulphur Falls. They still need to get into their white mana, and there it is. So we may be seeing their commander next turn. A Memory Jar, that is, yeah, 2 5-drops. Really not what we want to see in this deck. Nothing we can do, so we'll just pass. Maybe we'll see something interesting from Elsha of the Infinite this game. Not particularly interested in just uploading wins all the time, so if our opponent can show us an interesting loss, I'm more than happy to show it to all of you. And they go straight in for their commander. Then a Sleight of Hand, 4 cards in hand, but they'll draw one here. This is a cantrip, I think. Look at the top 2 cards, one into your hand and the other on the bottom. So now 5 cards in hand and a colourless floating. See if they got into Sol Ring. They didn't, apparently. And we get into a land, that's good. I think we can get down Burning Earth, can't we? Start dealing some damage to our opponent while they are shields down. Steam Vent's been shocked in, that's fine with me. The more damage our opponent takes here, the better. Then a Lotus Petal does count as a spell. 0 mana spell, so that triggers the prowess. Followed by a Faithless Looting, a very low curve our opponent's built here. Lots of cantrips and small ramp packages. Yeah, a Mox Diamond, so most likely a spikier competitive player, discarding a land. Now tapping a couple of non-basics, so they'll be dealt damage by Burning Earth. And then another non-basic, so that's 3 damage in total. That would have been 9 damage if we had our Torbran in play. Oh, and they've gone for a they've gone for a Storm off straight away. So they've exiled their own mana drain, which you won't find me complaining about. A Negate, a Mana Crypt, and a Gitaxian Probe for the card draw. So we might actually have a chance here, because our opponent has emptied their hand. Apart from the card they just drew into with the Gitaxian Probe. They know what a terrible hand we have now. And there's Mana Crypt for even more mana. We weren't really concerned with how much mana they had before now. The problem is we've We've got a Wheel of Fate on the stack, haven't we? Oh, Price of Progress is good though. And we know our opponent doesn't have Negate or Mana Drain. Let's get down the Torbran. They might have Pact of Negation. We have 1 damage dealt to us by the, whatever this is called, the Burning Earth. But yeah, Price of Progress will deal 2 damage to us. It will deal 2, 4, 6, 12 damage to our opponent, assuming they don't play another non-basic. Might be able to get our opponent here. Plus, they might be getting dealt damage by Crypt and Vault. But they managed to dodge the Mana Crypt this time. Take 1 damage to the Vault though. Another cantrip in Preordain. These are exiled, so we don't need to worry about those. Our opponent's hand is being refilled next turn is the only problem. Do we have to play this? Yeah, it says cast it without paying the mana cost. I think we have to do that, unfortunately. 5 commander damage coming in at us now. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. They have gotten down a Warm Power Stone and a basic land. And now the suspend counter is removed from there. Yeah, and we're being forced to cast it, unfortunately. So we're going to refill our opponent's hand. Oh, and I held priority there. How annoying. I was going to say, and I definitely wish I'd done it now, I held priority there by holding control, but for some reason didn't hold priority and didn't give me the chance to cast Price of Progress before we wheeled, so yeah, I would apologise for that, but I actually didn't make a mistake there. That's just the client being weird. Pyrostatic Pillar. Whenever a player casts a spell with CMC 3 or less, it deals damage. Let's go for Mind Stone. We'll go Pyrostatic Pillar. See if our opponent drew into counters. Alright, they're allowing it. I'm going to hold back Torbran here because we're going to have to... Ooh, Mana Barbs is good. Yeah, we're going to have to block here, I imagine. But if our opponent's just got a bunch of cantrips, this might kill them. Coupled with the fact... I mean, they might have Swords to Plowshares for Torbran. Well, they're tapping mana to that Burning Earth. So that's 3 damage a pop there. Oh, and then Time Warp. Yeah, they can take an extra turn after this one. They go down to 12. Here's hoping the Mana Crypt is on our side. And this is actually where it's really relevant that the Price of Progress was cast. Yeah, that's really annoying that the client just skipped through there. We could have dealt 4, 8, 12. Yeah, we would have had our opponent. They might not have gone to cast the Time Warp, but in this exact scenario, if it had played out exactly the same... now that is an... Yeah, that's an unsummon, so might be our opponent has us with commander damage here. If they can get Elsha's power up to, what would it be, 7? Then they can get rid of us here. But yeah, if it played out exactly the same, that Price of Progress would have absolutely mattered there, so that's quite annoying that that just happened. They do go for the unsummon onto Torbran. And the Burning Earth and the Pyrostatic Pillar are not going to deal anywhere near as much damage now, thanks to Torbran being out of play. And our opponent also gets an extra turn after this one, thanks to the Time Warp, so we're definitely done for here. Vandal Blast gets rid of our Mana Crypt. But it's mainly in there to buff the Elsha, I imagine. So hopefully they've got another spell to go for, so they can actually... Another 2 spells, actually, to get rid of us this turn. But we're seeing the power of Pyrostatic Pillar and Burning Earth here. Our opponent couldn't have done any of this had we have gone for that Price of Progress. Grape Shot is another Storm card, the second one of the game. So just one more spell from them, and they can take us out with commander damage. But they don't have it, so we're going to have to, hopefully, just take another hit from our opponent. And I'm actually just going to tap out here to show my opponent that I don't have anything. We'll be dealt damage by the Burning Earth. If our opponent continues to play cantrips and spells and stuff, then we'll just scoop it up, allowing my opponent the chance to swing in for the victory here. Got them down to 4 though. and we could have won the game. Alright, there is an Ether Flux Reservoir. Absolutely no need to cast Ether Flux Reservoir. And they're still going for Brainstorm. Yeah, that's just... there's no need for that whatsoever. We're at 5 life. We only need 1 point of damage from the Elsha. But it was a good showing from Elsha nonetheless. You can see what they're going for. Lots of cantrips, getting into the stuff they need. They can storm off. They can win with Ether Flux Reservoir. I dare say our wheel helped them there. And we actually didn't need that wheel in the end. So it's just one of those unlucky things. I've been using Wheel of Fate a hell of a lot less in my decks. 1, because it's really slow. But 2, because stuff like that can happen. You don't know what's going to happen in 4 or 5 turns. And whether or not you actually want to get into this. So that might have to come out of here. But it was our only shot of actually getting into a game this time around, as far as we knew. Because we didn't have anything in our opening hand really. And like I've pointed to 100 times this video, price of progress. Didn't get the chance to cast it there like we should have done, so I dare say we could have won that one. I don't know if my opponent could have worked around the fact that they can only tap their rocks and basics for mana, lest they want to be burned out by things like Burning Earth, and Pyrostatic Pillar doesn't affect their lands, but they could still have gone for Jace off of their rocks and basics, and perhaps on summoning the Torbran could have switched their non-basics back on. Who knows? Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed this one. Please leave a like, a comment and a subscribe, because it does help the channel to grow, and I'd be very much appreciative of that if you can do that for me. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.